Well, making these videos isn't easy. Okay. That's ready to go. I want a point on the end of these, so over to the big disc grinder we go with a drill, and we're going to put a nice point on them. Tack it, and away we go. Try not to move it, 50 times before I actually hit it with the welder. Just going to tack one side, and we'll square it again, and we'll do up the other side. So now, with the nuts in place, we can have a trammel bar. Bolts, nuts. We'll get it right one of these days. So here's the rest of the contraption here. Again, I'm just hoping this works. It should work. It works. That's going to sit there. Clamp down to that. Create one side. And then the other side. One side's fixed. The other side's moving. Full 8 feet long. Probably a little bit more than I need. But that's usually all exactly enough. So, okay, on this this section of video, I'm going to try to show you what some of the issues are that I've discovered as I'm trying to get the Corvette C4 crossmember installed into the frame. Now, one of the biggest issues with this so far has been trying to establish what exactly around here might be square. That's really where I'm struggling with this, and I don't mind saying it's a struggle. I spent several hours yesterday trying to get this sorted out, and I'm back at it again today. As you've just seen from the other part of the video, making the trammel rod was, well, I hope is going to be part of the solution. I mean, I actually haven't figured it out yet, so no faking here, folks. We're just trying to do this. Just a guy in my garage trying to sort a few of these issues out. So you can see here, there's a bit out. So even where it's at in the car is not quite right, but we're going to have to do something. So as I started measuring it, I mean, ideally what we would do is we would just pick a point somewhere on the cross member. I mean, it might be the point here where he's marked spindle center line. It might be, one of these machined parts. These are, they are as exact and precise as you would like, so they go all the way through. There's no break in between them. So you would think you could maybe pick up a reference point from the back corner. I've installed the bolt on both sides. Just maybe we can get the tape or something into there. It is easier if you have a buddy or a friend with you. Maybe grab your better half and head out to the garage and have some quality family time, but I don't have any of that at the moment, so my wife's at work, and I took the day off because I got frustrated yesterday when I thought I would actually get this complete. But no matter, on we go. I'm hoping you can still hear that over the sound of my furnace, but I don't have the furnace working. I'll probably just freeze to death, so. Alright, so here we go. So let's just check out a few measurements. Now, back in the far corners there, I've installed some Machinist 123 blocks. So those are hyper precise ground blocks. They have a sequence of holes in them. Those are Chinese knockoffs of actual good ones. So they're square and all the rest, but you can't put them together very easily, and the holes are all wrong. But be that as it may, they work really well for setting up jigs. They're known distances, 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inches. So they're extremely useful for this kind of jigging. I had no idea how I'd be able to see into this corner, so we can just pick up the corner of the block, right? So we'll pick up the corner of the block here, the corner of the block there, right? And we're going to try to square it this way. So we're here. because I need to see this back corner. I'm going to just take it in until I'm touching. I'm nice and square with the tape. Nothing's off. And I read that measurement, and I've got 46 and 7/8 on the button. 46 and 7/8. And then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to put it in exactly the same spot. Again, no goofing around here. This was yesterday for several hours. And I don't have 46 and 7/8 anymore. I've got 46 and that looks like 11/16. So that's quite a bit out in terms of trying to get this thing square. So clearly that side has to grow a little bit. Okay, so go back to this doubled 16ths. The difference between 7/8 and 11/16, right, is 3/16 of an inch. So that's a lot. So now if I go forward with that, okay, so that means that side should go forward. You have to pick one side, right? That's got the scribe lines on it, and it's not on the scribe lines right now, so I don't mind taking my hammer, and I'm going to go over here and just tap it a little bit forward. Doesn't take much. I guess it takes a little more than I thought. She's still tight. Excited. I'm going to start this way. Now, I'm going to recheck this. That's moved it to 46 3/4. Gotta come back to this side. I still got the 46 and 7/8, so nothing is moving. But I am back onto the scribe line where I was in the car. So, that'll be it. Pretty good love now. Alright. Back this way. There is a point to this, by the way. Just for fun and personal entertainment, see if I can bore you completely to death. Okay, now we are not heading in any direction. We're going to shorten it up for kids. Hey, remember that was where we took it. A bit less. I thought about just putting a couple of big clamps on this. A bit of a clamp attic, really. Then I can move it with the help of the screw rather than the big hammer, but it's not discussing yet. I'm now down to 3/4 dead. 46 and 3/4. Back over here. Okay, so that's wiggled around. So this one's got a so it's not quite 11/16. Come my way just a touch. Still on the scribe line, so that's okay. This has got to come this way then, just a bit. One more hit. One more. Honestly, oh, close. One more little tap will have it. Perfect. Not just a little bit perfect, but not enough. Alright. I am perfectly satisfied with that. That is, let's check it and then we'll talk about satisfied. Couldn't be any more of the same. Okay, so that's this way, that's perfect. Alright, now checking the cross is hard. We got that, right? Checking the cross is kind of hard because there's nothing really up front to check to. Now we could try, for example, going from the edge of the control arm, but the, tape measure doesn't really want to sit there. But if we sit it kind of the same way every time, whatever error we have would be repeated. Okay, so this gets me, if I try to hold the tape nice and straight, no bows or anything in it. Right, so that gets me to that corner. I gotta look away from it now. I don't have bifocals yet. 48 and 13/16. I could kind of use bifocals. Now I'm gonna hold it the same way, right? So I was that way before, curve of the tape to the bolts. I'm gonna turn the tape over, hold it right there again. Okay, and I'm gonna double check this over here. Now we're not square. Okay, so we are a 1/16 of an inch out of square. We are 48 3/4 here, and it's not a right on 3/4. It's a bit big, or a bit small, I should say. So we might be, well, we're a 1/16 plus a 32nd, right? So we're 3/32 out. Anyway, so then I thought, okay, well that's fine, and you jiggle it around, you recheck all this measurements here, and you think, well, this is fine, because if I've got it in this case when I'm coming this way, this is showing me it's a bit small, right? So it's a bit small in this dimension, so I have to pull this one in, and again, I know the frame is square. The outer X is square. It's this inside part that's being troublesome. The actual part that's going in the car is an issue. So either this side needs to grow or that side needs to shrink. It really doesn't matter which, and it won't be much. So now you can play with it a little bit, and you can go ahead and tap it. So maybe just give it one tap. Just one. Let's see if we can sneak a little bit of that back out. We're going to come again to this point. We're going to come back to that point. And now we're 48 3/4. Again, turning the tape around. And to this side here. And I made it move. About a 32nd of an inch now, so one light tap here. Light tap. Probably be enough to do it. Another check. It's okay, the depression's coming. The depression is coming. That has not moved at 48 3/4. And this, we're coming back in here. Much longer, I have to get the bigger tapes Anyway, I did this for several hours yesterday. That's still fine, 3/4. And then I found that, well, I could square it this way. Again, we'd have to move it just a bit more. When I checked other dimensions, whatever those dimensions were, so this is the trick. So I've now got this to within, it's about a 32nd of an inch, and I'm just trying to demonstrate what the problem is, so I'm not going to go a whole lot further, but we can keep tapping that all we want, but if we go and check anything else on the frame, something else is messed up, right? So now we're squaring, of course. Initially, we took our measurement to the back of the cross member, and then I translated back of cross member because I have nothing here to really measure to. It's a little high. I've got some things in here, but if I check this now for square, holding it nice and straight, doing the best I can, I am 53 inches. Just a hair And if I go to the same spot, right into there, it's hard to know. Okay, now remember, I'm only less than a 32nd of an inch out here on the square to the back of pickup points. And I'm currently 1/8 of an inch out of square to here to here, because I've been moving, right? I've been moving this. So these are now squared, well, close enough, but the cross member itself is just a little bit out. Right, so this continued on for hours and hours as I got more and more confused. I then tried all kinds of other things. I know, for example, that the 4x here is square to everything. I've checked. I mean, it's sitting up against the channel, and the channel is square to everything. And if I set my squares here and here, just so I have a nice reference plane to them. Okay, so they're even, despite the fact that the table's been leveled and all the rest of that good stuff. We all know about that. But just dropping a line basically from here straight down with that. And if I check a simple distance, just take any distance. So this distance here to the cross member, 14 inches on the nose. And if I check this distance to the cross member here, right, there's a weld line right there, so I'm checking on the weld line. Over here, we're no longer 14 inches on the nose. We are, again, we are a 1/16 of an inch out. So we're starting to get the notion that this particular part, the bottom half anyways, when it was put together, wherever their jig was, or however they jigged it, they didn't get this part very accurate. So it's not perfect. It's a long way from perfect. In fact, we're going to put the tape measure away just for a second, and the hammers, and we're going to show you. I mentioned before that it wasn't quite right this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set my squares in. We're going to set the bolt through the middle of that. I'm going to pull it in. It doesn't matter what I'm measuring, as long as I'm measuring it consistently. I'm setting the edge of the square right up to this machined part. It's sitting dead flush on the machined part and pulled tight to that edge. Now we're going to take, again, we're going to take a steel ruler this time, and instead of the tape measure, I'm going to lay that steel ruler just for here. I'm going to hold this tight. I'm going to slide this over. And right there, I've got 20 and a 16th. Right on 20 and a 16th. If I then take this, move it to the front. Now I'm going to square it up again. Make sure I'm on it fairly and perfectly. I'm not a metrologist by any sense, but this is again just a guy's garage. I'm just trying to get a cross member in my car. I don't know how anyone does this without losing their mind. Okay, I slide it up there. I'm holding on to it here. Of course, you can't see that. I could show you if you like, but that's 19 3/4. So, you know, you've got, again, over 1/4 of an inch worth of pinch here. So when we're referencing these things, you got to pick something. I don't know. I'm just going to continue squaring to this back corner, and I'm going to let the rest kind of fall where it may. So it's sort of a suboptimal solution, but it's the best that I can come up with at this time. Now, in order to do this properly, I'm actually going to use the trammel to do it, because I'm not convinced that even using the tape measure with things jammed in corners and all that kind of jazz, if I'm arguing about 32nds and 1/8 of an inch and those sorts of things, I need to be able to be a little bit more accurate than that, and the trammel bar allows me to do that. Just wanted to show you what I'm doing here first. So first I'm going to test the square of the frame. I keep telling you that the square of the frame that I've built is dead. It's perfect. It's as good as I can get it in a garage. I actually laid it out with a tape measure. You saw me do that in a previous video. And I was very pleased with that result. I wasn't 100% confident in it because I'm using that tape measure, and again, any flex in the tape measure, any pulls here or there, and you could be out by, you know, a 32nd of an inch or so. I'm going to set these 321 blocks. This is one of my reference points, these pieces of channel that I've installed here. I could reference the front of the frame, I could reference any part of this frame, it shouldn't matter. I've selected to measure here, so I'm just lining it up very carefully with the back edge. We take a square, we put those two things together, we set that in. That is pretty much exactly where that's supposed to go. Yep, can't even feel the back edge. And then I'm going to use a magnet to hold it in place, which is good enough for trammeling. We're not going to do bolting things to it. It's a reference point. The trammel will then sit in that hole. The holes are in exactly the same spot. Again, how are you supposed to do this? I don't have a person around to help, so I'm going to do it this way. Alright, so I've installed similar blocks at the other end, right? They are tight to the reference plane and snug with welding clamps right up against the side of the frame. I've selected the inside of these frames to be the reference point. The outside can be wherever the outside is going to be. Again, these were bent, right? So they're bent by professionals, but they're not perfectly 90, but there's something. So I've used this edge, right? This edge on the back. I've said that's what I'm going to reference to. It's reference to something. So now I take my trammel and I set it. Well, let's just show you how we do that exactly. Okay, so we're going to just release this screw back here. We set the trammel in the hole here. Now, it's at an angle, but it doesn't matter. So I'm measuring the hypotenuse of this particular right angle triangle, but who cares? So, I've got that sitting exactly in that hole. I've got everything sitting straight up. Wrench on, just snug it. Again, we're not trying to clamp it there for dear life. Nothing's moved. I go to my other set of holes over here, carefully set that in the hole. I come over here, it drops straight into that hole. Just bang. Same process as before. We're going to just take this and tram it in. We're going to just, I've actually squared it already, so it's not as exciting as it sounds. We now know it's squared. Alright, so we take the tram. Clearly going to have to move it in. We're going to use that inside position here to this inside position here. Drop them in. Okay, be happy with it up and down. And lock it in. So that is in the correct position. Now we're going to check the same measurement going the other way. Right, into that same hole. You get any sweeter than that. Drop straight in the hole. The back side of that is then therefore square to this back corner. So it's square to the frame. Doesn't get any better. Now, it's a lot of work just to put you up there for just that little part, but I didn't know how else to show you that. At any rate, I'm going to shift your focus ever so slightly forward, and I hope this works out, but you know, you'll live with it. Okay, so now we're going to come up to the front. Move my dirty gloves out of the way. And we can see that something is wrong. Back corner, again, it doesn't look like this could be any better, but the front edge, we got issues. Okay, so I'm going to take you off the top here and take you back down to ground, and we'll... Okay, for the next set of measures, we've just finished squaring here, right, to those holes, to these holes. Everything is still in there, everything's fine. Now, the next set of measures I'm going to do is going to reference the this point here over to the edge of the frame. Alright, so we're just going to move blocks out of the way for now. So we don't really need those. We're going to use the following method. So we're going to slide over, touch, and then I'm going to measure straight over to the frame. Alright, just to check where it is side to side. Alright, make sure like we're square, but how are we doing side to side? So I'm going to hold that flush to there, hold it down here, carefully slide my square in. It doesn't matter what the measurement is, it's a relative measure, so tighten it up. My hands to work today. So this will tell us whether or not we're centered in the frame. Right. There to there. There to... You can see here. Well, now the relative measure needs to become an absolute measure, right? Go over to the frame. We know the frame is right on the frame. Okay, so we had there, for reference on the other side, let's call that, it's 4 inches. It's ever so slightly less. You can see here. Ever so, I mean, not even that. It's 4 inches dead. We'll call it 4 inches dead on that side. Okay, so if we hold that in, try to get this measured up. Comfortable with that. Tie it down. And on this side, we have 3 13/16. I'm, visibly translocating that up almost 1/4 of an inch out of square. It's not square. It's square. It's 1/4 of an inch not centered. I'll find the right language. We check that. Okay. Well, are we consistent front to back? That might be nice. Might be. I'll come over to the front edge of this one. I'm just going to move. This is hard enough to do without making your life even more difficult. Release it again. So hold that square right there. As good as you can go. It's even less up here. Okay, so we're square here. Oh, sorry, the other way. It's even more. So that's 4 1/16. So between the two things, as the upper controller mount is, we've got 1/4 of an inch. This is 1/4 of an inch out of alignment. Let's go to the other side. Let's check the other side. Hold that up nice and square. And we're going to square this square to that square, right? It's like the square dance. Probably get banned from YouTube for that bad joke. It's the best I got. Short notice, people. And that is, it's a 1/16 less, so 3 15/16. So that means that this side here is a 1/16 of an inch out of being straight. This side is 1/4 of an inch out of being straight, so we have a 1/16 of an inch of pinch in this way. This side, 1/4 of an inch of pinch in on this side, right? And the pivot points are not in the center of the frame of the car. I don't know if you can tell where we're going with this, but this is not good. At any rate, this is a good enough spot to end this particular episode Don't know what to tell you. Just